ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. Ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. It's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
It's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. Ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. Talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma.
it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Head to Head with Brian Parker. I am he. And we are live. We are streaming on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So thanks for joining us wherever you may be. And we always stream weekly on our Roku channel. If you have Roku and you have not added Empower, what the hell are you waiting for? Go to search channel, add Empower, and it'll change your life. You'll win a lot of money and you'll have a lot of happiness. Okay, disclaimer, I'm lying. Anyway, but you'll get a laugh or two, especially if you watch Head to Head. Anyway, would like to thank everyone for tuning in as always. And for my wonderful panel, we are joined today by Mr. Michael Berry. How you doing, sir?
I'm exhausted.
You're exhausted?
Yes, it's a very long story, but that tropical storm, hurricane, whatever that was, that
Ida said, hey, I hit on Louisiana, but I got something for New York and New Jersey.
Most definitely.
Man, I saw some crazy pictures from people posting stuff on Facebook, and then I saw the news where the subways were being flooded out, and man, y'all got like inches and inches of rain. That was just crazy. So yes. glad you didn't float away.
Almost did.
Oh man. And let's see. Let's make sure that we also say hello to the one, the only, the wonderful, the sexy, the beautiful, the tasty, the delicious. All right. Lori Parker, how you doing?
How you doing? And Michael, I'm so glad you did not float away. You are kind of at the top of the hill, so it might have been a little bit different if you go downhill.
We'll touch and go for a minute there, I'm sure.
Well, I was actually in Jersey, so.
Oh, okay.
I had to make it back to New York in the storm.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's craziness. But I'm hearing things have calmed down a lot now, right? Everything's okay now?
Well, it's sunny outside. So we got that.
Okay. Oh, man. Somehow we missed it. I mean, the way the storm came up, I mean, it's been raining here, so it's hard to tell whether it's because of a tropical storm or it's just Thursday. But we didn't really get anything more than we've been getting normally. So the way the storm came up was just a little different than what we normally get. But thankfully, you guys are safe. Unfortunately, I heard that we lost about 12 people to this thing up in that area. So our thoughts, our prayers always go out to their families, and hope everybody's on the mend and on the way to recovery up in the tri-state and down in Louisiana as well, where they're still fighting power outages and golly, I mean, power does so much down in New Orleans because they're under sea level. So they need the power for the pumps to get the water going, get the sewage going, get the gas pumping. A lot of things depend on them getting power. So energy guys, I mean, I heard they got thousands and thousands of linemen out there just to try to get them power back over the next couple of weeks. And they're trying to prioritize things because the hospitals really couldn't relocate people. They're full with COVID. So they needed backup generators, to keep people on the ventilators and things like that. So this is another one of these reasons that I keep talking about, folks. Y'all need to think about this shot, because you're in the hospital. It's one thing to say, well, I'll take my chances and end up in the hospital. Okay, well, hurricanes don't give a damn about if you're in the hospital on a ventilator. So just kind of keep that in mind. And now you really depending on backup generators, really?
And also some of the power crews that are coming down, as they are trying to sit there and assist, some of the areas are so underwater, they can't even get there. So it's like you're then being put into a priority, because some neighborhoods and some towns are just totally flooded out to where you can't even get there to even help people. So they've been relying on the Cajun Navy, to get people to ground, to above ground. But it's just very sad, and it's just with COVID being there as well, it's just adding on an additional burden.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I mean, other than that, not a lot going on in the world.
That's good.
It's just a typical Thursday.
Yeah, right. Listen, I mean, there's so many different directions we could go. I mean, everything, even from the thing that shocked the world more than anything this week, was Cam Newton getting cut. I mean, this is supposed to be, and I had the head sports yesterday, and I'm sorry. Are you throwing gang signs up, Lori?
No, that was a prayer, because
that was a prayer. Okay.
It's a prayer for
so somebody just gave us a thumbs up, and I don't know if that was because I said Cam Newton got cut.
No, absolutely not. I'm just giving a prayer because this is now a reality that now he's been cut because of his other activities that he shouldn't have been doing, and it is a business, and they just reacted accordingly. So now he has to figure out on how to proceed or move forward. So again, thoughts and prayers to him.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and the NFL did come out this year and say, hey, things are going to be a little bit different. We got a year of COVID under our belt, and we had to make a lot of changes on the fly, and they were still able to get every game in, all the playoffs in, and the Super Bowl in on time, even though it meant Tuesday games, Wednesday games, Friday games. They got it in. They had to make a lot of changes. Some folks that had to play a Thursday night game couldn't play a Thursday night game, because then they played a Monday and a Tuesday game. So they got to at least have 3 days, all that kind of stuff. They had to keep finagling and stuff. I'm really thinking about like Tennessee Titans, who had to have 3 games rescheduled. I'm thinking about the Denver Broncos, who had to play a game without a quarterback. All these different things had to work just to have a season and still come to the inevitable conclusion that Tampa Bay was going to win the whole thing. That was inevitable. So now what they've done is that they've said, hey, listen, teams going to have more skin in the game. Players that are vaccinated, you're going to be able to operate under these set of rules. Unvaccinated players, you're going to have to operate under these set of rules. Now, absolutely, if you were unvaccinated, it was going to be more restrictive because of the impact that you could have on the team for being unvaccinated. So it encouraged a lot of the players to go ahead and get vaccinated. Some of the players, surprisingly, still decided to hold out. And the reason I say surprisingly is that some of them are actually big name players. Like if you're the 53rd man on an NFL team and you don't get vaccinated, I mean, who gives a damn? You ain't making a statement. But when you're DeAndre Hopkins of the Arizona Cardinals, when you're Kirk Cousins of the Minnesota Vikings, when you're Cole Beasley of the Buffalo Bills, when you're Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens, especially Lamar. And I went all in on Lamar yesterday on the sports show because, dude, This is a contract year for you. You're still playing on a rookie contract. When rookies get drafted, they automatically, their pay scale is pretty much determined. Okay. If you're drafted at this position, this is going to be your pay range. Ain't a whole lot of wiggle room with that. But when and normally the contract is for 4 years with a 5th year option that the team gets to pick up. Now, normally a team is not going to let you play in that 5th year without giving you an extension. So basically the first 4 years is your audition for them to say, yeah, that's a good choice. Let's go ahead and sew him up for a long-term contract, like a 7-year, $280 million contract. Oh, and by the way, we're going to guarantee $120 million to $150 million of that. Now, people not understanding the way NFL contracts work is that I could sign you up to 10 years for $2 billion if I wanted. And that doesn't necessarily mean I'm paying you $2 billion, because after the first 2 years, if I decide to cut you, I don't owe you anything past that 2 years. I only owe you. So if I guaranteed you $100 million and then your base salary was, say, $15 million a year, well, I'm really on the hook for about $130 million. Okay, that's what I pay you. The rest of it just goes away. It evaporates like it never existed. That's different than the NBA and Major League Baseball. In the NBA, when you sign that 5-year, $200 million contract, you know how much money you get? $200 million. That's what I signed you up for. Or a lot more of their salary is guaranteed. NFL isn't like that, you know. So what's really important for an NFL player is the guaranteed money. Because at any time you can get hurt, team cut you, and all that kind of stuff, and they're not on the hook for all of that. So when I'm talking about Lamar, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, dude, you have the ability that what you've made in these first 4 years could potentially be your annual salary. The range for quarterbacks right now, the going price is starting at $39 million all the way up to $45 million per year. That's the going rate. Now I can't. It's crazy for me to tell somebody how to handle their own health. I get that, but there's a whole lot of us that would love to have the opportunity to make $40 million a year and have about $150 million of it guaranteed. Dude, do your research and then take the shot. If that's going, because listen, Cam opened the door for Mac Jones to take his job.
Absolutely.
If all things being considered, if both of them were even at their playing level, one's vaccinated and one's not, I don't care what Bill Belichick said. He said, oh, no, it had nothing to do with it. Horse crap. Of course it did. Because you need to win. These teams are not there to lose. Well, unless you're the New York Jets. But these teams are not there to lose. Sorry, Marvis. But
I feel that Marvis is going to come around the corner.
I got that feeling too. Like she's just gonna come around.
I think it's safe.
Okay,
cool, I feel she's gonna roll around the corner on that side.
I'm sitting there looking at my door to make sure she don't come through that door. But you're in business to win. So if both things being equal, and the one thing is that you got a vaccinated QB and you got an unvaccinated one, you got to sit there and weigh that in, because the best ability is your availability. If I test you on Thursday and you come back with the vid, I don't have you for Sunday. So a lot of these teams, and in the AFC, the conference that they play in, that is a very competitive division. They're in the same division with the Buffalo Bills. They're in the same division with Cleveland. The Browns have come on. They're in the same division with Pittsburgh, Tennessee, Indianapolis, Kansas City. Even the West Coast teams the Raiders AFC. So AFC, yes. Yeah. So you got a lot of teams that are mixing it up over there. You got the Chargers. I mean, there's a lot of teams in that conference that are very, very stacked, going to be very, very competitive. They added an extra game to the season. So instead of 16 games, it's going to be 17 games. So more, and there's only 7 teams from each conference that get to the playoffs. You got to be in the top 7 of those teams. And in the AFC, to be honest with you, it looks like it's going to take 10 or 11 wins for you to make the playoffs. And then you still may have some 11-win teams that don't make it because they're in a crowded conference like at the AFC West, where you got Kansas City and you got the Chargers and you got the Raiders. One of those 3 ain't going to make it probably because the division winners automatically get seeded. So then you only got 4 other spots. So, yeah, there are going to be some teams with a double-digit amount of wins that are still going to be sitting at home on the couch come playoff time. So Bill Belichick knows that, hey, Cam had the vid last year. Then he had misunderstanding this year. Sorry, I think about August. So I need to make sure that my quarterback is going to be available. So that's going to probably make other folks kind of think about, hey, maybe I need to go ahead and get this thing done. And one last thing I'll say about that I brought up on the show, people have to remember that 20 years ago, there was this quarterback for the same New England team that got his opportunity because another quarterback named Drew Bledsoe got hurt. And the saying back in the old days was, you don't lose your job to injury, meaning you get hurt, you rehab, you come back, you get your job back. Well, Thomas Edward Joseph Brady did not let Drew Bledsoe get his job back. And all these Super Bowls later, MVPs later, and now he's considered the GOAT, all started because the man in front of him wasn't available. So a lot of times your opportunities come because you have to be ready to seize the moment. So, Cam, when you sit there and you deferred your moment to Mac Jones, he stepped right into it. Now, if he ends up being, this lauded quarterback that they think he's going to be, hell, he might have you think it is Hall of Fame speech. I'm just saying, if it ever gets that far. But I'm just saying, you never know. You never know about the opportunity that's in front of you. So do your due diligence and make sure that you're taking care of yourself and you're not sitting there listening to a bunch of quacks tell you that, certain things are in a shot that's not, and all these things. I'm not saying don't be skeptical, don't be hesitant, but at the end of the day, make good decisions. The NFL is a business. It is a multi-billion-dollar business. So make sure that you are looking at it big picture and not just trying to hang on some morals and some hill you want to die on for no particular reason. That's all I got to say on that one. So good luck, Cam.
Well, I just wanted to add on that you're talking about the NFL as a business, but then this can be looked upon as anyone who either works from home, because you still have those individuals that those people that have chosen to work from home are now dealing with, I don't want to be back in the office, but I need to also make sure I keep in my opportunities, because do I have FaceTime with my boss? How am I going to still become engaged? And even as we move into, now that we have the FDA approval of the vaccine, even though that was an excuse, but I feel that more companies are now just going to sit there and to mandate that you are vaccinated. I mean, you still have the option to do multiple testings, COVID testings, and getting negative results, but it's going to make it easier for you to be able to participate, because at the end of the day, you need to be about your money. And you need to be able to pay your bills, and you can't sit here and claim that welfare and unemployment is going to be able to pay you, because they're not. So that's my 3 cents.
Even the Bible says that the day will come where if you don't have the mark, you won't be able to make any money. It says so right there in the Bible. Those who don't have the mark will not be able to buy or sell.
Absolutely.
That's true.
You have to be about your money. And for Cam to be able to, I guess, foolishly miss this opportunity for ego or whatever, or you feel that you're listening because for and knowing your body and everything else. But at the end of the day, if you can't pay your bills and you have all of your family that you need to support, and especially with your past entanglements, that's on you. Because I don't need to be able to support you in your entanglements and the fruits of those entanglements because you weren't about your money. You have to be on your grind every time and make sure that you're doing what you can for your family. So for him to do this is actually kind of foolish. But hey, maybe it's a lesson. Maybe he might sit there and realize maybe another team might pick him up and but I don't know if he'll get the same money. But hey, I don't know anything. I'm just low sitting over here. That's just me.
It's his choice. If he chose not to have it and is willing to deal with the consequences, then that's his own personal choice. Mm-hmm. It's no different than somebody didn't want to take a knee.
Yes. Yeah.
Somebody chose to take a knee and gave up his career. That was his personal choice.
Mm-hmm. So. I totally agree with that. It's more of you got to understand though what as long we grown. He a grown ass man. I don't feel sorry for him because he's made a lot of money. It's just the thing of that. Hopefully, the thought was put into it when you made that decision that it could go the other way, pretty much like the way that it has. And as long as you're at peace with that, that's okay. That's why I say those that don't want to get the vaccine, and I know it sounds harsh and I know it sounds cold. If you don't want to get the vaccine, this is just my opinion. This is not opinion of my panelists necessarily. If you don't want to get the vaccine at this point, all of the information is available to you. If you don't want to believe it, that's fine. If you don't want to take the shot, that's fine. Again, like I said with Cam, he's a grown ass man. The people that can take the shot are grown because that demographic is you have to be at least 12 years old. So, okay, maybe not all of them are grown, but certainly the older folks that can take it are grown. If you decide, hey, I don't want to put that in my body, even though you eat Big Macs all day long and you don't know what the hell is in them Big Macs, whatever. And the consequence is, oh crap, I can't smell nothing. I don't taste nothing. Damn, maybe I got the COVID. And the next thought in your mind is, I should take my ass down to the hospital. Stay your ass home. Don't be the reason that somebody that needed to get dialysis or had a heart attack or has to have some kind of cancer treatment can't get it because now you taking up a bed. See that part? See, because you can't say both. You can't say, well, that was my decision. Okay, that's fine. Live with your decision. If you're going to do risky stuff, live with that decision. I'm not telling you to die. I'm telling you to be to be the same grown ass person that said, I'm not going to take this shot. Don't go because the doctor tried to tell you before to take the shot and you like, I don't care if you're a scientist. I don't care if you're a doctor. I don't care if you went to school for this and everything else. Damn it. I watched TikTok. I watched YouTube. I watched some demon semen lady tell me this and that and the third. When you get sick, call the demon semen lady. When you get sick, go back on TikTok and do your little moves and stuff like that and watch your little videos. Don't take a bed from somebody that didn't do anything wrong, that just sits there and has a heart attack or has some kind of medical condition. Don't put them out because you decided to be what I'm gonna call reckless. Now if you grown and you decide you don't want to do it and you say, well, I ain't being reckless, I just don't want to put nothing in my body. Like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. But understand, don't utilize the resources that's going to potentially mean that when somebody else needs that service, they're going to get told by the hospital, I'm sorry, we don't have no beds. The next available hospital is 150 miles away. Now, while that sounds crazy for us that live in a lot of the bigger cities, everybody don't live in big cities. Some people live in small towns where hospitals don't have that many beds to begin with. They're being stretched right now. Some places are having to look at convention center spaces and other things to make makeshift hospitals, like New York had to do with the Javits and stuff like that in the early onset of COVID-19. A lot of other smaller towns, that is their reality. We have to be mindful of that they were never designed to take on that many people at one time. It's unheard of for hospitals to be over 80% full or occupied, rather. That's unheard of. And a lot of them are in the 90%. A lot of them are telling people that they have to cancel their elective surgeries right now because they just cannot keep up with the staffing. You see restaurants and bars and everything else having a hard time keeping up with the demand for people just coming in and having a good time. Hospitals are having the same problem. Their staffs are overworked. They're burned out. They're stretched out. Even if beds are available, well, beds are fine. You still got to have people to come in and tend to these folks. They still got to come through there. So nurses, doctors, they still have to be there. So I'm not telling you because you make a decision that I want you to, go ahead and, get your last rites and stuff done. But what I am saying is, how dare you take a bed from somebody? Now, I don't know how y'all feel about that. That's just my 2 cents. I've struggled with that because I try to have compassion and empathy and stuff like that, but I'm almost out of it, honestly. Now I'm seeing a lot of these same right-wingers that have been spreading this misinformation, whether it's Joe Rogan, now he got COVID. There was this other guy that had been a huge anti-masker. He died. There was another guy was doing the same stuff. He died. I'm like, okay, what is it going to take for y'all to understand that COVID don't care what your grift is or what your party affiliation is? It is trying to kill you. Deal with that. Accept the fact that, hey, listen, you ain't no expert. It's okay not to be an expert on everything. I don't know how to do. I'm not a car mechanic, but the way a lot of these people acting because they saw a handful of videos on TikTok, they think they know more than the car mechanic. Your car break down, you take it to the dealer. But the way people acting these days, that dealer don't know what he's talking about. I can fix it myself. I know I need motor oil, but let me pour some coolant in it. I know I need the vaccine, but you know what? They really ain't talking about this dewormer like they should. Let's get this dewormer that's for some horses and cows.
Okay, I that's one thing I really don't understand, and that's kind of odd.
You don't? I do. But go ahead.
It's kind of odd.
No, it ain't.
You say that you don't want to take the vaccine, but you're now looking to veterinary medicines that treat your animals for this, where they say that they have proven side effects by using this if it is used by humans. So I really don't understand. And just to kind of add on your point, I don't feel bad. I actually had to deal with a crazy man at the grocery store today. He had no mask and just was standing in the middle of this one professing about how all these people have on their masks and all this other stuff. And at the end of the day, I'm like, you made a choice, but why should I need to have to deal with your crazy? So why are you getting groceries? Why are you utilizing a resource that everyone else has who has either is vaccinated, and you're now utilizing that resource?
Because he thinks it's constitutional. He thinks it's a constitutional right.
Stay in your little mountain town, wherever the heck you're from. Just go there, please. Because you were in the upscale supermarket. But stay there. Don't go in here and start getting crazy in the middle of the cereal aisle. Like, it was ridiculous.
But he has rights, Lori.
To be crazy?
No, to be able to go wherever he wants.
But you don't have to be serviced. And that's a business.
Yeah, he does. It's his constitutional right. You can't tread on his rights. He has freedoms and liberties.
Okay.
Of course, I'm being facetious.
Okay, I was just like sitting here, like, as a business, you have the right to refuse to not.
Well, to answer your question, the reason people are looking for alternatives is because the one staring in your face has been politicized.
Well, I don't think that's the case with everybody.
Huh?
I don't think that's the case with everybody. I think
no, it's not. It's not.
There's a portion of people. There is a portion of people who, yes, that is the reason why they don't do it. There's another portion who have a completely different set of reasons. Like in New York, for example, I know a lot of people. I know a few people in the medical profession who are debating whether they want to keep their jobs right now because they don't want to get a shot, and they're in the medical profession.
Right.
So, but certain hospitals are mandating.
Why don't they want them?
Huh?
Why don't they want them, Mike?
Well, one thing I said a couple of weeks ago, that I thought that more people would start getting the shots once it became fully approved by the FDA. And I think there has been an uptick of people who have gotten a shot since that point, because they didn't want to take something that was only out there for emergency use. So that's another portion of the people that we're talking about. You have your right wingers who is political. You have those people who want to make sure it was safe, and we're saying, if it's safe, why hasn't the FDA approved it? You have other religious people who have their own problems with taking it because some may see.
Yep.
Yes. So
it's infringing on their religious freedom,
right,
and all of this, or vaccines, or cause autism or something.
So you can't put everybody in the same category and say it's just because.
No, I get it. I know that there's outliers that'll say it's because we don't take any vaccines. When we get sick, we don't go run to the CVS and buy a bunch of medicines. We have our own home remedies. We have our roots, and we do this and we do that. There's so many. So I didn't mean to umbrella everybody to say that it's politicized, but what I do mean by that is that a lot of it has been politicized. Whether everybody looks at it politically, that I can't say. But can I say that it has been politicized? Yes. Can I say wearing a mask has been politicized? Yes. Am I saying that everybody that doesn't want to wear a mask is doing it for political reasons? No. That's not. So I'm saying them both, but I'm saying that the issue has been politicized, but that doesn't mean that everybody takes it from a political standpoint, if that makes any sense. So when some people are not wanting to do something and they are taking it from a political standpoint, that is a hill that they're choosing to die on for political reasons. I'll give you a perfect example. I like the Yankees, okay? And they went on a 13-game winning streak. Man. Yeah, Mike, they did. And then they lost. And you know what? I was happy for the Yankees when they went on their 13-game winning streak. Then they went on a 2-game losing streak. They won the other night against the Angels. Wild card, here we come. But I didn't say that if they win or lose or anything like that, I'm making these sorts of life decisions. Like, it's a team I root for. But I can separate the fact that if they don't win the World Series, I'm not going to sit there and go blow up some federal building. It's a team. It's entertainment for me. But with politics was always normally about policies and you know, of course, you know, everybody had their views, conservative, liberal, whatever, but it wasn't creeping up into everything. Now there's not a lot that you can't talk about, and there's no political lean in it. Or if you do a certain thing, it means that you're with this team. If you do a certain thing, you're with that team. If I wear a mask, it means I'm woke. If I don't wear a mask, I'm a rebel. I'm ignorant. I'm a redneck. You know, I don't care about safety. It means certain things that it shouldn't mean. So a lot of this stuff has just been politicized. So for a lot of these folks, listen, why would you sit there and say then these drugs have been out since December, right? As far as these emergency use. And there is a reason, and I'll say that in 2 seconds. But these drugs have been out for 12 months. I mean, not 12 months, since December. Why would somebody then say, hey, I don't trust that because it ain't been approved by the FDA for what you're saying it's for, yet I will take some damn horse dewormer that hasn't been. Yeah, I know. That don't make no damn sense.
Right. And once again, that's a portion of people and everything who are thinking that.
Exactly. So I mean, that's the crazy. But see, these are the same crazies that can explain that if ballots got switched for Biden, how did they not get switched for the Republican that won in them same districts?
It's the same thing with the hanging chads from years ago.
Exactly.
Oh gosh! If our next election for the is going to be that, and I'm going to see that guy.
I get it. If you don't want to believe something, I get it. Sometimes, you know, when Trump won, you know, when he won, I had a hard time believing it too. Not because it didn't really happen, but it's just called being in shock. And that's okay. That's a human reaction. You know, somebody you know passes away suddenly, you're in shock. You don't want to believe it happened. You're like, oh no, how could that be? Things happen like that all the time where you're in shock. But when the facts are presented to you, there used to be a time when somebody actually put the facts in front of you, whether you wanted to believe it or not. You kind of had no choice at that point, or you're just being delusional. Now there's alternate truths. There's different versions of stuff. People create their own facts. There's propaganda. A lot of it, the internet has been our friend, but it has also been the thing that does us in, because if somebody says they saw it online, that made it true. Vetting used to be where you source stuff and you source it through more than one outlet and things like that to make sure that what you're vetting is true. Now, all I got to do is find it on a source that I know that I'm going to find what I want to hear on. And as long as I see it there, there's my evidence, there's my truth, and I'm going to live that truth. That doesn't really help us. That just kind of keeps us in our different political corners and our ideological corners as well. Now, about this whole FDA thing, anybody that, and see, this is the problem. Until COVID, and again, I know it's a big umbrella I'm about to cast, and it don't fit everybody. But until COVID, you ain't hardly know how many people even knew about the FDA like that, or the CDC, or the WHO. Now everybody's an immunologist. Everybody is a virologist. Everybody knows how drugs get put out and the approval process that they go through. People will tell you that the vaccines came out too fast, as if they are people that work around the development of vaccines and they know what a realistic time frame for vaccines to be. Oh, it was too fast.
They took an online course.
It's like, well, I'm just like, well, too fast for who? Do you not realize that they don't wait for viruses to come? They constantly are working on different strains and things like that. They're constantly working on commonality between one virus to the other. COVID-19 was a variation of something that has already been out there. That's why it has the word SARS in front of it. People don't know that. And so it wasn't that it was a totally different strain, but it was one that we didn't have any kind of vaccine for. So a lot of the components were already there. They just had to figure out how to tweak it so that it would have the right amount of efficacy that would be against COVID. Now, the efficacy that some of these vaccines came up with was over 90%. The one that Lori and I took, Johnson & Johnson, was in the 70s. But that was still considered to be a high enough efficacy. The reason that the FDA takes longer, which is why we had to do the defense authorization. All the defense authorization basically does is it gives the manufacturers the permission to go ahead and mass produce this stuff so that we will have it on hand. It is not easy to produce 300 million doses of a vaccine. It may mean that their factories have to be retooled where they were making other things. Now they got to just make this. It's also a way to guarantee to these manufacturers that if they find out after they manufacture 300 million doses that they got to throw them all away because they don't work, hey, we still going to get paid for this. If they would have done it prematurely without the Emergency Defense Act, they would not have had that financial guarantee from the government that we will cover the cost of this. That's why the FDA, anything that is out there, drugs can be out there and may not be FDA approved because the FDA goes through a rigorous process of their own checks. They have their own system. Okay. So just because the FDA doesn't approve it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with it. It means that their bar may be a little bit higher and they go through a longer process of ensuring that it's going to do what it says. They inspect the factories, the facilities. They look at all of the case studies. They do all of those things before they go with the full force and say stamp of approval. So there's a lot of reasons, but at no time were these drugs considered experimental. They were just being pushed through an emergency use authorization because there was a pandemic. If this was just another drug for diabetes, there would be no Emergency Defense Act because people can take glipizide and all these other diabetic medications that have been approved. Then it would go through its natural process, and it could take 2, 3, 4 years for the FDA to say yes, because they want to be sure against sure. And that's normal. That's normal. So the fact that the FDA has come up and said, yes, these are okay, they've looked at a lot of the research. And honestly, yes, to be fair, a lot of the research was the fact that 150 million people took it, and now the only people in the hospital are the ones that aren't vaccinated, which only basically proved what folks knew about the vaccine back in December. Now, the FDA did look at that data too, and they said, well, wait a minute. If 90-something% of the people that are now hospitalized have COVID-19 and have not been vaccinated, that kind of proves that the vaccine works. They weren't so much concerned about whether the vaccine works, what side effect, or if any, will it produce? What other things, what long-term problems can we have? Well, here's the thing. If you took the drug in February and March when it was starting to be made available to the general public, because if you remember, it was only seniors and medical personnel that got it first. That wasn't a big enough sample size for the FDA. Then they had to start getting it to people in the different stages. Well, they couldn't approve it back in March and April because they didn't have time to be able to see if there were any effects to it.
Right. Hold on. Right there. So that is the same reason why a lot of people have not taken a shot, because they were doing the same thing the FDA was.
I agree.
They were holding it to the same level as the FDA. So a lot of the people who did not take the shot at a certain point were moving right along with the FDA.
Right. I totally agree with that. You are 100% right. And I have no problem with somebody, because when it first came out, I said the same thing. I was like, remember we had the show and I was like, I'm going to see how it works with a couple other people first. Because, you know, we ain't got a good history of giving black folks medicine. You know, I said the same thing. And I would agree. If you took it early, was you kind of somewhat a de facto guinea pig? Yeah, you was. But you almost had to look at it from the standpoint, if you took it, which I did, I looked at it from the standpoint of the idea of COVID scares me more than the idea of taking the vaccine. You know what? I don't behoove anybody that didn't see it that way. But now, with the Delta variant, but now with so many people that have taken it, but now with the facts that people that are being hospitalized are mostly the ones that haven't been vaccinated. I mean, I don't really need too many other glaring signs to tell me that me being vaccinated has probably kept me out of the hospital. Will it keep me from getting COVID? No. No more than the flu shot will keep me from getting the flu.
So are you going to take the flu shot?
Hell no.
Why? What is the difference?
Because every time I take the flu shot, I get sick. Well, you know what? Honestly,
wait a minute. You got sick. You felt the effects once we took the shot.
I did.
You weren't feeling well. You didn't feel well, but I was fine. So
see, that's my point. That's normally my luck. I'm the one to get sick.
But
regardless,
you have no excuse to not get a flu shot. It's just
you have no excuse.
Not gonna get sick.
Yeah, well, you know what? You're actually right. And dealing with this has kind of opened my eyes to that what happened was I got the flu shot one year, and a couple of weeks later, I came down with symptoms of flu. I had the flu, and I went back to my doctor and I said, I ain't taking the shot no more because it gave me the flu. And she argued with me. Now I'm being one of these anti people with my doctor, because I remember saying to her, well, doc, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, because I know I had the flu. This is what she said to me, and it made sense years later. She said, Parker, the flu shot that you got is catered to certain strains, but because it mutates in open space, you possibly got a strain that this shot did little to protect you against. It may have given you a little bit of protection, but that strain was something different than what this flu shot was calibrated for. And I was like, oh, it mutates? I said, it's not the same strain of flu. See, I thought all flu strains were the same at that time.
No.
I really did. So I figured, well, you give me the flu shot, I'm not going to get the flu. Then when I got the flu, I'm going, well, hell, it doesn't work. Why am I taking this if all it's going to do is make me, I thought the shot actually made me sick.
No. So with that being said,
now listen, that was 15 years ago.
Sign us up to go get the flu shot, because they are available.
See, this ain't what this show about.
It is, and we're trying to go into.
You changed the subject.
We're going to move on to Afghanistan, but I'm just trying to say, for your health, that you should be able to get a flu shot.
Okay, listen.
They are now working on boosters, so you should be able. So I will make an appointment for the both of us to go to the clinic, to go to CVS, to the Minute Clinic, and get the shot.
You do what you got to do.
I just make sure that you're there, because I know you try to hide and sit there and run in the car.
Don't be telling my fans. Don't be telling my fans I be.
You have to follow the science. Listen to your wife.
You know what, Mike? No, you're right. You're right, because I can't sit there and say, "Hey, don't go to the hospital," and this and that and the other, and then I don't take the flu shot. I got the flu and I'm getting pneumonia and stuff, and my ass sitting up in the hospital. That's true. But what I'm saying to you is that line of thinking, I get it to some extent, because I had those kind of thoughts before when it was about the flu. And even though I knew that people could get severely sick with the flu and potentially pass away, it wasn't at the rate that this thing is doing. So I still kind of sat there and was like, I'm healthy. I'm not going to die from it. I mean, I might get sick, but I was one of those people that rarely got sick. You know, winter come, I'm fine. I might get a little head cold or something like that. You know, I take a little bit of Theraflu, boom, boom, bam. I done knocked it out, drank a little liquor. I'm good. And I wouldn't really get sick like that. No, Lori, you in the South, baby. Jim Beam cures everything. It's like we call it country.
Absolutely.
We call it country Robitussin. But we give it to kids. Sorry, DSS. But we do. But yeah, so what I thought about then, I can understand because my whole mindset was kind of like that too. Man, I'm healthy enough. I can rebound from that. It only kill old people. It ain't going to hurt me like that. And I thought that about the flu. Now, COVID was something totally different to me, but now learning more about virology, because I've learned more from seeing Fauci and some of these other virologists than I ever cared to think I would ever know. Just like during Trump's impeachment trial, I learned a lot more about the law than I thought I would ever know. But that's just how you grow and develop. So I understand, Michael, that, yeah, you're right. Some people were very apprehensive at first, and I totally understand why. What I'm saying is I'm getting to that point now that every month that goes by, we're distancing ourselves from when these vaccines initially came out. More and more information is available. Okay. So if I wouldn't be saying this if it was March. Okay. I'm barely wanting to say this because it's September, but eventually it's going to be January. You know, at what point can we convince people that, hey, y'all, it's okay now? It really is.
Well, by January, more than likely, the next phase will take place and everything where if you want to have a job, you have to have a shot.
Absolutely.
Which is coming very soon. Because
it's starting.
Right. It has started. And now that it's FDA approved, companies are going to feel more comfortable saying shot or lose your job.
Well, that's true, because the EEOC actually came out and said, even before the FDA approved it, that if jobs wanted to do that, they were well within their reach to do that.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's what's happening in New York right now.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So, but what happened was I knew that a lot of places were going to wait for the FDA to give them cover. That would be their way of saying, listen, I know a lot of y'all are wanting to consider this experimental. Once the FDA puts their stamp on it, you can't claim that anymore. You can't try to take us to court and say wrongful termination because we wouldn't take an experimental drug. Now this drug is FDA approved. That takes away all of the excuses. Yet for some people, I feel like that's all it was. It was just another goalpost that, okay, now the FDA approved it. Well, let me figure out another reason not to take it, because they really want you to take that, but that ain't the real cure. The real cure is this Livectin stuff that's a dewormer for cows and horses. That's the real cure, you know? So, and so, okay, I don't, somebody just sent us a comment on live, and I don't know what in the world this has to do with anything, but I'll read it because, hey, we do this show with you. Do you think Loretta Lynch has a weird name? Tommy Marks, God bless you. To answer your question, no.
No.
Is it because of the word Lynch? Lynch is a kind of a common name.
It's a conspiracy, I tell you.
Loretta Lynch.
Yep.
Who is Loretta Lynch? Is she someone?
You don't You don't know who Loretta Lynch is? She was the what position did she have with Obama? She's the short, light-skinned lady. Oh man, hold on a second. I'll tell you who Loretta Lynch was. Loretta Lynch, Lynch, former United States Attorney General.
Oh.
Under Obama. Short hair, light skin, black. Y'all remember Loretta Lynch?
Well, there were a couple of light-skinned ladies in his administration. Valerie Jarrett, but there's a couple.
Oh, okay. Well, hold on a second, because I believe in making sure that I shit. Oh, you got yeah, that's her. That's her. You see it, Lori?
Yes.
Okay.
I apologize that
all right. So Tommy, I keep watching, share everything else. Not sure where that came from. She's she's just a regular civilian now, I believe. So, I ain't here to mess with Loretta. But yeah, so anyway, that's where I'm with Corona. I really think that you see it in the NFL. That was kind of the point, is that you really, really see it starting to go everywhere. And you're right, Mike. It's going to be a thing where places are really going to say, hey, you got to be vaccinated, because they want everybody wants to do is get back to some semblance of normal. And what we're being told by the scientists is that the more of us, people always say, well, if you're vaccinated, what do you care? Well, according to the virologist, the reason that I care is because the more of you that stay unvaccinated, that gives the variants time to mutate into other variants. So COVID, the vaccines were developed for COVID. Luckily, it has been shown that it still works pretty good against the Delta. But who says the next variant from Delta, the vaccines that I took, will still work against? The problem is that if the vaccines that we took don't work against the next one, then now we're just as vulnerable as everybody else all over again. And nobody, and I mean nobody, wants to go back to hearing shelter in place. Nobody wants to go back to hearing lockdown. But if the variant has an opportunity to mutate, that's exactly what could happen. Now, some people could say, well, Brian, that's hyperbole. That's not going to happen that way. You really want to take that chance? If you went through it the first time and you remembered how bad it was, you remembered having to sit there and take off of work because nobody was there to watch your kids, because even the daycares couldn't watch them. If that wasn't enough to make you kind of wake up a little bit and go, wait a minute, we need to take this thing kind of seriously, because, see, sometimes we get short-term amnesia. We'll go through something, we'll deal with how bad it is, we'll get some distance from it and forget that it ever happened. And act like it can't happen again. History will repeat itself normally because we don't take it under advisement the first 10 times. That's why things continue to happen. We don't learn from it, which is a brilliant segue into Afghanistan and the exceptionalism of America. Why we think America is the greatest country, and why we think we should just go in and nation build and try to make everybody be just as great as we are, even though we are pretty effed up to begin with. So, anybody don't know what I'm talking about? After 20 long years, the United States has ended its longest active war in Afghanistan. This has been something that every presidential administration has always said that they wanted to do. And anybody that paid enough attention to politics knew was never going to happen. Now, I want to give some credit where credit is due. Thank you, Donald Trump, because Donald Trump initiated the withdrawal. And I mean that in all sincerity.
Yes,
now,
he did.
Trump's reasoning for wanting to get out and motives may not have been in line, but okay, whatever. It's time to go. Trump has always been an America first person, or that's what he promotes. So for him, it wasn't financially to the advantage of America to fight a war that we're not getting paid for. We ain't getting their oil. They not paying us for all of this. We spending billions and billions, which actually was trillions of dollars on this forever war. So the end result was correct. His motive may not have been, but who cares? Now, it's funny now that Republicans want to impeach Joe Biden for doing what their boy started. See, this is how effed up we are, yet we're trying to implore democracy in Afghanistan. The irony of it all. We're trying to be the example for them when we sit here lying to people about who won the election and having insurrections at the at the Capitol. So, but we still trying to get other countries to have a democracy. We trying to suppress voters, but we trying to get a democracy going in Afghanistan. We sitting there now wanting to sue people for helping somebody get an abortion, but we want to implore democracies. Yeah, we real crazy. We got some problems. The thing about America is that a lot of these people were never going to want to get out of Afghanistan because there's a grift behind that. And that goes for Republicans and Democrats. A lot of them in bed with a lot of these companies that work over there to do all of that stuff. They get campaign finances from them. They get donations, all kinds of things. Lobbyists come to Washington and say, hey, I need this government contract over in Afghanistan. We'll donate to your campaign. And that's what keeps those forever wars going. Why do I say that? Because we killed bin Laden a long time ago. What else did we need to do in Afghanistan? See, we blew up a lot of their country because they were harboring terrorists. So we made them pay for that. Then we turned around and said, okay, after we blew everything up, now we're going to rebuild it. Then we said, well, we're going to help y'all become a democracy. We're going to prop y'all up. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. Listen, America, we need to get out of nation building because we're not very good at it. Hell, you can't sit there and tell somebody how to build up their house when your house looking raggedy. We sitting here fighting racial divides, critical race theory, police brutality, all these other kind of things. Yet we think we can stand on some kind of high horse and tell everybody how to run their country. And our country is more divided than it's ever been. I mean, who the hell are we to sit there and tell another country how to run their country? Where do we get that from, y'all?
Well, that is the way that America has been as far as most of us can recall.
Yeah.
1950s, 1940s, 1930s. That's just American mindset.
We got to change it because it doesn't work. We think we've won every war. These people are now upset with Joe Biden because even if they agree that the war should have ended, well, we had to do this and we had to do that and it was messy. Listen, y'all, there is no pretty way to lose a war. And make no mistake about it, we lost. We didn't win that war because the Taliban are still there. We just delayed them 20 years, but they're exactly where they wanted to be. So you know what that means, y'all? All y'all about we big bad America and all that, and we got all the guns and the tanks and all this and that. You know what? You still lost. Now, our troops didn't lose anything because our troops are always given the order to follow the commander in chief. It's not a political thing for them. It's to go where they're asked to go, to do the job to the best of their abilities. And they did that, and they did it with honor. So I'll always salute the troops for what they did wherever they go. My brother right now, I think he's in Colorado today, is flying back overseas tomorrow, and he's doing his thing for his country. And I salute that. Whether I agree with the politics of it and everything else, it's not about that with them. They are in uniform. They represent 1% of this country, and they do their job without hesitation. And they always pay the ultimate sacrifice if need be. So whether we won or lost the war is no reflection on our troops at all when I say that. But the reason that we lost the war isn't because of the troops. It was because we had an idea in our mind that if we stay somewhere long enough, they will use us as an example to better themselves, because our American exceptionalism seems to run so thick in people's heads that they think everybody wants to be just like us. They just don't know how. We just got to give them that extra nudge. We just got to be that shiny example to them. They ain't last 2 seconds. They went right back. They didn't even want to fight. We propped up that government for 20 years. And the only thing that we proved is that when we took our hand off of it, it was going to go back to being what it always was. Yeah, you can say we trained them, we did this, we gave them supplies and everything else. But if that doesn't show you that it takes a lot more than the best military equipment, the best training, and things like that to turn a culture around, I don't know what else will do it. I hope we really learn from this. And I hope these folks eventually understand that if Joe Biden had started evacuating 2 months earlier, it would have still been a mess. The Taliban would have saw that we were evacuating, and they would have started moving against all of those cities 2 months ago. They held off because Donald Trump promised them we were going to leave and actually started removing some troops. He actually wanted us to be gone earlier. Joe Biden extended it till August the 31st. Donald Trump was the one that pressed for the release of their current Taliban leader from prison. Met with him. Mike Pompeo met with him. They basically came up with a surrender order. These are the terms that we will leave on. You can call that whatever you want. That is a negotiation of surrender that was not done by Joe Biden's administration. It was done by Donald Trump's. And again, I'm happy he did it. I'm glad he did it. We needed to get out of it. Joe Biden is absolutely correct. How many more years, how much more blood do we need to shed for us to come to the same damn conclusion that it doesn't matter how long we're there? The result's going to be the same. The only people that would want us to stay any longer are our war hawks that sit there and they get campaign donations from some of the biggest defense contractors. All you got to do is follow the money, and it'll tell you why people are invested in us staying over in Afghanistan to fight a war that we cannot win. We big bad America, we think we win everything. We do everything better. We're America, damn it. We're American. We're flag and apple pie and all that. That's what's wrong with us. And then when you finally get a good old ass whooping, you don't know how to act. Now you all appalled because, oh God, they airlifted over 100,000 people out of Afghanistan. My problem was this. When you heard Donald Trump negotiate these terms, why wasn't you packing then? Why you wait till the last minute? Joe Biden had already said, we leaving, y'all. This is the date we leaving by. Why are you there in August? I don't get it, y'all.
Well, I mean, going on to the point of with Donald Trump, what he started, but also because he had roadblocks in his administration, which is a lot of people are talking about for the members of the military that have been in there, have been fighting in Afghanistan, trying to get out the partners and the translators and all of those individuals that helped them fight that 20-year war is actually been held up But this was something that was started by the Trump administration. And even though Biden is now receiving flack because there's all these people that are saying like, I wasn't able to get my interpreter out, or they were trying to get access to the airport, but they were turned away, and it wasn't done in an orderly fashion. For all of these people that have commentary or talk about Biden, I mean, he made a choice. This is when we're going out, which was started from a previous administration, but he actually executed. But now you have these people that are the naysayers or the critics or talking about all of this and how it's been messy, and that even though they have airlifted 100,000 people, now we're trying to sit in the process of where are they going to go? Where are they going, in working with other countries? And as America is in trying to do nation building, they are now, the rest of the world sees us as, oh, it's not that great. Now it depends on how many partners. Am I going to sit here and take all of your refugees? No. And all of these people clamoring around. I feel that Biden was put into a predicament, and he actually was put in the corner, and he did an execution. Now, was it done according to all of these critics the best way? No, but he did it the way that he was able to do it. But he is now sitting here working with the previous administration on what they had made a decision to do, and then handing over a Taliban leader because Mr. Trump wanted to sit there and to line his pockets and get that going.
Lori, I'll say two things to that. One, I give Joe Biden credit for this. He hasn't shied away from taking ownership.
Nope.
Which is what you want a leader to do. He said stuff like, the buck stops here. This is why I did it. I accept full responsibility. That in and of itself is something that you would never hear from the former guy. He ain't accept responsibility for anything. Even when asked, are you going to accept it? And I said, no, I don't accept anything. He's at least accepting it, the good and the bad of it. He knows politically there's going to be half of the country that's going to applaud you for this, and there's going to be half of it that's going to say you're a bum. But you still have to sometimes make the best decision at the time. The other thing that I'll say is it's kind of funny how these Republicans now act like they're just so concerned about the Afghan people, the women, the girls, and all this.
Yeah,
and that,
this one, like
but when you hear Louis Gohmert from Texas talk about them, he'll say, well, they need to be vetted because we don't want them to be the next Boston Marathon bomber. I'm sorry, were these people our allies and folks, or are they the Boston Marathon bombers? They're almost like them people that say, well, we want them to be able to get out when they can, but they don't need to come over here. They still got that whole America First idea where they don't want them to come from them shithole countries. Now, if they was coming from Norway, come right on in. But Afghanistan, no, sir. No, sir. Y'all are bombers.
In any Arab country, or, because they always feel like they are terrorists. Wow. But at the same time, again, going in dealing with our relations because of the former president and his administration, we have strained relationships with all of our countries that we are allies with. And now everybody has their own issues. And it was like, okay, I can't sit here where before they may have readily been like, you know what, I'll take 50,000 refugees that are coming in and trying to sit there and to negotiate. Now, not so much. Now it's touch and go. And now all of these individuals that are sitting in Congress talking about how messy, how bad it was, and Biden, and I applaud him because at least he's taking ownership and accountability, as most of them do not.
Absolutely.
But that's one good thing that you can say about the whole thing. I mean, yes, it was messy. It was always going to be messy. There was no way for us to pull out and it not be a mess after we left.
Exactly.
There's no easy way. So it's not like, So just leave him alone, and can we work on infrastructure? Because again, because of the floods, and then because we had roadways washing away, people died. But again, y'all are hung up on, the payment of infrastructure and working on semantics. But that's my 2 cents.
Final thoughts on that. It's not really even any of that. It's really just being an opportunist. And perfect example is Lindsey Graham saying that Biden should be impeached for that. Yet the guy that I'm trying to be nice, have to expense.
Why are you being nice?
The guy that you have to expense knee pads for, at his waist level, has done some really crazy things that he got impeached for that you could not wrap your head around why he would need to be impeached. Yet Biden is trying to make sure that we don't shed another American life for no reason. And that's a reason for impeachment. You have to be either the worst piece of crap in the world, or you are just so politically twisted that you can't see up from down. Trump's impeachments had a whole lot more meat to it. He tried to coerce a country into doing something for money. That wasn't impeachable, but us trying to end a war that the guy that you groveled to initiated, that don't make no sense. So that's what I mean by stuff has gotten so political that, listen, I give Donald Trump all the credit for wanting to pull out of Afghanistan. I was hoping Obama would have done it. I was hoping Bush would have done it. If I had to say some of the letdowns from Obama, that had to be one of them, is that we didn't pull out of Afghanistan. We didn't close Guantanamo Bay. We didn't get immigration reform. There's a whole laundry list of things that, as much as I love Obama, that things were not done. We should have had better police reform under Obama. Obama sometimes seemed like he wanted to get away from racial issues so that it didn't seem like he was pushing that agenda. F that. You a black man. Stop being scared of being black. Them white folk gonna hate you regardless. So anyway, I'm sorry. I ain't trying to go off on Obama. I love Obama. But that don't mean he's perfect. I hate Trump. But that don't mean that he was all bad. And just because I voted for Biden, that damn sure don't mean that I believe everything that Biden wanted to do. So don't get it twisted. Anyway, that is all we have this week for our show. Tune in next week where more thunderstorms will come our way, and hopefully we don't float away. Just kidding. Say hello to Pinto.
Yes, I think Pinto was barking agreement for you.
I would hope that's Pinto and Marvelous as well. Tell her we're praying for her New York Jets for the season not to be over in September.
Oh my God! She's gonna come and get you.
Oh gosh. And we'll see how your Big Blue does as well. So you guys got another 10 days, and then it's all gonna start up. So I'm ready to see how all this is gonna play out. I can't wait. NFL season, college football starting this weekend, where my Carolina Tar Heels about to hit the ground too. So we pumped up about that. And honestly, y'all, just pumped up about life in and of itself. Enjoy your life. Don't take things so seriously. Stop looking at each other through political lenses. Hug people, love people, accept them where they are, and then just pray that if they're not where you think they need to be, if they get there, they get there. If they're not, it is what it is. Thank y'all for showing up. We will see y'all again very, very soon. This is Brian Parker, and we are out.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. It's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it.